This is Volume 1 in the deposition of Justin Lyon in the matter of State of Washington versus LLR Inc. Case number 192023252 SEA in the State of Washington, King County Superior Court. This video deposition is taking place at 2040 Main Street, Suite 250, Irvine, California 92614, and it was noticed by plaintiffs. The time now is approximately 10:09 a.m. on the March 5th, 2020. My name is Kirill Davidov from Bullet Real-Time Reporting LLC, located at 1325 4th Avenue, Suite 1840 in Seattle, Washington 98101. Will all counsel please identify themselves for the record?
Brina Roos on behalf of the State of Washington, and I'm joined on the phone by Joe Canada and Tiffany Lee.
William Floratis for the defense.
Will the court reporter please swear in the witness?
Would you raise your right hand, please? You do solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the evidence you shall give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Justin Lyon.
Have you ever been deposed before?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to go over a few of the ground rules for today's deposition. I'm here today to ask you some questions relating to a case brought by the State of Washington against LuLaRoe and a variety of other defendants. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Now the court reporter here is here today recording my questions and your answers. As you know, we also have a videographer. There's a few things that are important for the court reporter to be able to get an accurate transcript. First, we should try not to talk over each other. So I will try to wait until you're done answering a question before asking a new question. And if you could try to wait until my question is done before answering it, that will help the court reporter out. Even though we have a videographer here today, you want to make sure your answers are audible. The court reporter can't record a nod or a shake of a head or a gesture. Please let me know if you don't understand any of my questions. I'll be happy to restate them, so let me know. And if you answer my question, I'll assume you understand it unless you let me know that you don't understand. We'll take breaks throughout the day. If you need a break at any time, let me know. We'll probably try to take a break about every hour or so. If you need a break before then, let me know. If I have a question posed, I'll ask that you answer it unless it's a question that involves attorney-client privilege, and then we can go ahead and take a break. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Counsel, the only thing I would ask is that if not just attorney-client, but if he has any other issue regarding privilege, that we could talk about that.
Okay.
Other questions, maybe if it's spousal or anything that might come up.
Sure. Yeah. Any privilege.
Thank you.
Yeah. And do you understand you're under oath today?
Yes.
Do you know of any reason you can't give complete and accurate testimony today?
No.
Okay. Are you currently taking any medications that would impair your ability to give accurate testimony?
Nope.
What did you do to prepare for today's deposition?
Met with Bill briefly and Liana.
And that's Liana Bash.
I believe that's her last name. I don't recall.
Anyone, did you talk about today's depositions with anyone other than Liana and Bill?
No, I did not.
Did you review any documents?
Yes.
What documents did you review?
I don't recall all of them.
Did they include depositions from this case?
No.
Did they include any video files from LuLaRoe?
No.
Did they include any audio files?
No.
Did you review emails?
Yes.
Do you recall what those emails were about?
Yes-ish.
What do you recall about the emails you reviewed?
I recall they were emails in regards to LuLaRoe And I don't recall the full contents of them, to be honest.
Do you recall
It was Monday, and a lot has happened since Monday.
Do you recall what aspect of LuLaRoe they related to?
I'm trying to remember which. Not entirely, no, to be honest.
About how many documents did you review?
Documents? Ten-ish?
Were there documents other than emails?
Yes.
What types of documents other than emails did you look at?
I believe there were a couple text message conversations. I said couple. I don't remember if it was 2 or 3.
Anything else?
What appeared to be a flyer of some sort. And that's about all I remember.
A LuLaRoe flyer?
It was a flyer that had LuLaRoe on it.
And you said you met with Bill and Liana. Do either of those lawyers represent you personally?
No.
Are you currently employed?
Yes.
And for LuLaRoe?
Yes.
Employed at any other company other than LuLaRoe?
No.
Okay. What's your current title?
I don't know.
Is there a reason you don't know your current title?
We're not big on titles at LuLaRoe. Chief Marketing Officer is a recent title.
Has that changed?
As stated, I don't know.
Thank you.
Starting at Exhibit 242.
242?
Yep.
Thank
You've been
you.
handed what's been marked as Exhibit 242, which is a printout of a LinkedIn bio for Justin Lyon. Is this your LinkedIn bio?
It appears so, but I would need to review.
Okay, you can take a minute.
Okay, yes, what was the question?
Is this your LinkedIn bio?
It appears so.
Okay. Did you, do you maintain your LinkedIn account?
Yes.
And does the experience history in this bio appear accurate?
It does. There are, looks like a couple of things missing that I haven't put in there, but yeah, it's what is there is accurate.
Okay, and what's missing that you haven't put in there?
Field trip, which was a conference I produced.
And when was that?
Oh, the exact dates. I was involved for 3 of those. The first one, I don't recall the exact year off the top of my head. It was 2000. It was before LuLaRoe. Man. Should I answer with a guess?
If you don't know, that's okay. It sounds like it was
2010, 11, somewhere in there.
before you started working for
Yes.
LuLaRoe.
It's perfectly fine to tell her you don't know the exact
Yeah.
date, but to give her your best estimate if you have
Yeah.
one.
And it sounded like you said you produced 3 conferences. Were those yearly conferences?
It was intended to be yearly, yes.
Okay. And what is Field Trip?
It was a conference for image creators photographers, videographers, community-based to come together and learn from each other.
And where is it based?
The first one we held was the El Capitan Canyon in just north of Santa Barbara, here in California.
And is your education, as stated on Exhibit 242, accurate?
I don't see,
I think it's on the third page.
yeah, I don't see the college experience that on here, so I'm not sure if this is the full.
Is it Rick's College?
No, I went to Art Center College of Design.
Okay. And did you have a degree from Art Center?
I did, yes.
Okay. What was that degree?
You need to make sure you let her finish completely.
Sorry. Yep.
It's not a natural conversation, so
Yep.
maybe take a beat.
Yes.
What was your degree?
My degree was a Bachelor of Arts with a film emphasis.
Where is Art Center?
Art Center College of Design is in Pasadena, California.
It looks from your bio like you also went to Rick's College.
I did. It is no longer called Rick's College.
Oh, okay. Is that now called Art Center? Or is it a different educational institution?
Now it is called Brigham Young University,
Oh.
Idaho.
Okay. Did you obtain a degree there?
No.
Okay, you can put that one aside.
And there's other college education missing as well.
Oh, what else is missing?
Scottsdale Community College
Okay.
and Mesa Community College.
Did you obtain degrees from either one of those community colleges?
I don't recall if I got my associates from there or whether I just had credits that then transferred to Art Center.
Okay. Thank you.
Just try to keep those in order.
One other question about your bio, which you probably don't need to look at for, but it looks like you're currently an owner and photographer with Amelia Lyon Photography. Is that still accurate?
That's a great question. I don't currently photograph with Amelia Lyon Photography. I believe that entity still exists.
And Amelia Lyon is your wife?
Yes, she is.
And she's Deanne Brady's daughter, is that right?
Yes, that is accurate.
And does she work with LuLaRoe as well?
She's a subcontractor.
As a photographer?
Yes.
Does she do other work for LuLaRoe?
That's the main area of her focus is photography.
Are there any other areas that she does?
Just family support. Loving wife.
One of the, I think it's a dress for LuLaRoe is called the Amelia. Is that named after your wife?
Yes.
So, as Chief Marketing Officer for LuLaRoe, what does that entail? What roles does that cover?
It covers the look, vibe, and feel of the brand, telling our story, and shepherding the brand message. Serving the graphics teams, the photo team, video team, the social media team, the marketing campaigns.
And those are all separate teams within LuLaRoe?
Those are all. What do you mean by separate teams?
Are they distinct teams? You said the graphics team, the photo team, the video team, social media and marketing campaigns. Are those all distinct teams, or are those more roles with overlapping people?
I guess that would depend on how you define teams. There are team members with specific responsibilities that fall within those categories.
Okay. Have you had the same role since you started at LuLaRoe?
I've had many roles since I started at LuLaRoe.
Well, let's go back. You started at LuLaRoe, I think, in 2013, correct?
Yes.
Was your title Chief Marketing Officer from the start?
No.
What was your title when you started?
There was no title when I started.
When do you recall first having the title Chief Marketing Officer?
I don't recall. As mentioned previously, titles aren't big at LuLaRoe.
What was your role when you first started?
When I first started at LuLaRoe, I oversaw photo shoots, video shoots, established our website, LuLaRoe.com. Social media, like got involved with our Instagram account, and then Facebook page, and then events. And just look, vibe, and feel, and then that included communications, it included event production. Excuse me. Man, I'm trying to recall back in 2013.
And how has that? So that was essentially when you first started, or at the beginning of your time with LuLaRoe.
Yeah.
And how has that changed over time?
We've brought in more team members, other people with experience to assist in some of those other roles and responsibilities.
So are there any of the roles that you just listed that you no longer oversee?
I don't oversee event production. I'm still responsible for the look, vibe, and feel of the events, but as far as event production goes, that's no longer something I oversee. I no longer oversee communications. I am involved at times, not all emails, but proofing some emails and looking at copy and working with the communications team. But they have their own separate responsibilities and team members as well.
And when did you stop overseeing event production?
Oh man, I don't recall the exact date.
Do you recall about how many years it's been, or months?
2 years, year and a half, year. I don't recall, to be honest. It's a guess, somewhere in that world.
Who took over that role?
Bob Allender. Spelled AHLANDER.
What about communications? Who took over that role?
Art McCracken.
And when did you stop overseeing communications?
Oh, that one was a while ago. I stopped. Oh, sorry.
Was it longer than when you stopped the event production role?
Yes. Again, it would be a guess at that. 3 years, potentially? 2 years? Yeah, I don't remember.
Who do you report to at LuLaRoe currently?
Lauren Simpson.
And what is Lauren's title?
I believe Chief Sales and Marketing Officer.
How long have you reported to Lauren?
I believe it's been less than a year. I don't recall exactly.
Have you reported to Lauren since he started the company?
I don't believe so.
Do you recall when he started?
I believe he started a year ago.
Before Lauren, who did you report to?
Mark and Deanne.
And that's Mark and Deanne Stidham?
Yes.
So I'm handed what's been marked as Exhibit 243, and I'll let you take a moment to take a look. And I'll just let you know that I'm really only going to be asking you questions about paragraphs 1 and 2 of this. And just for the record, Exhibit 243 is a declaration of Justin Lyon in Lemberg versus LuLaRoe LLC in the Central District of California, case number 17-2102. Have you seen this document before?
Yes.
And it appears to be a declaration you signed in separate unrelated litigation. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Looking at paragraph 2, you state what your role at the time when you signed this in March 2018 with LuLaRoe was, and you say you had overseen and been responsible for a variety of areas in LuLaRoe from when you started in October 2013. Was that accurate at the time?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you could take a look at that and just let me know which areas you no longer oversee as you sit here today.
Objection, form, vague.
Go ahead. If your counsel states an objection, unless he instructs you not to answer, that he's stating an objection for the record, but you can go ahead and answer the question.
If you can.
Can you restate the question?
So in your words, you state, I've overseen and been responsible for all LuLaRoe branded events and marketing, and then you have a list there. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm just asking you, which in that list are areas that you no longer oversee or are responsible for? Again, in the words that you wrote.
Would you like me to go item by item?
Sure.
So I'm still responsible for the look, the vibe, and the feel of events, but I no longer produce the events.
Okay.
I'm still responsible for the look, the vibe, and the feel of the marketing assets and content.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily produce those. We have a team that does that. Convention would be an event, so I no longer produce convention, but I am still responsible for the look, the vibe, and the feel of that event. Or retreats, similarly, still responsible for the look, the vibe, and the feel of those. Photos, still responsible for the look, the vibe, and the feel of our photos. Video shoots, similarly, still responsible for the look, the vibe, and the feel of our video shoots. All marketing materials, still responsible for the look, the vibe, and the feel of those. Our website design, still responsible for the look, the vibe, and the feel of those. Design and content of the back office, still responsible for some of the look, the vibe, and the feel of that. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, so it sounds like the look, vibe, and feel is something you maintain responsibility over, but at the time when you signed this declaration in March of 2018, you were a little bit more involved in some of the details of those items. Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, I would have a little more to do with some of the logistical execution, meaning like planning of an event or a photo shoot, whereas now I work very closely with the team on how the photo should look, how they should feel, and less about worrying about a permit, for example, or what time the call time is, other than help working with them to determine what kind of shots we would like to get. If we want more daytime shots, I would suggest to them times we may want to start the shoot and or end the shoot, depending on the look, the vibe, and the feel we're trying to accomplish in said photos or videos.
Okay. In the last sentence of this paragraph, you state that you manage and oversee approximately 30 LuLaRoe employees on the events team, the design and graphics team, and the marketing team. Is that still accurate?
No.
Who do you oversee now?
Currently, I oversee the social media team.
Did you oversee that team in 2018?
I don't know that we had a defined team for social media. We all kind of helped out with the social media assets because the photos, videos, and those things were our social content.
Okay. So people on those teams worked on social media?
I don't recall. In 2018, this was April. Who that was at that specific time?
Okay, you can put that aside. Do you work at all with the leadership development team with LuLaRoe?
What do you mean by work?
Do you help on any of their primary objectives? Sorry.
I'm sorry, could you reread that?
Yeah. Let me just restate it. Let me back up. What is your understanding of what the leadership development team does?
They work closely with the retailers and the leaders to help them with their sales objectives, strategies, ideas, tips, suggestions, ways to improve their sales and also to improve as leaders, to help those that are selling LuLaRoe to sell the products that they have.
And who's responsible for that team?
Objection, form.
Go ahead.
The leadership and sales team reports to Kenny, and Kenny reports to Lauren, and Lauren reports to Mark and Deanne, so ultimately Mark and Deanne.
And have you ever been a part of that team?
No.
Have you ever had any overlapping responsibilities with that team?
Yes.
How so?
Marketing is a very important aspect of any company, and so marketing and sales often work closely together to support any products we're releasing and or the retailers who sell LuLaRoe to make sure they have the assets, the content, the tools, the things that they would need to best sell that product. So sales and marketing have always worked very closely together.
Mm. So it sounds like over the last couple of years, you've had a shift in your roles where you've stepped back, as you said, it not as involved in some of the details of some of the events and focused primarily on the look, vibe, and feel of LuLaRoe. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
What precipitated that change?
Allowing other people the opportunity to grow and to take on responsibilities, and having competent people in positions that had gained the experience and or came with the experience to take on those other roles.
Prior to Lauren starting with the company, you said you reported directly to Mark and Deanne?
Yes.
Okay. And now you report to Lauren?
Yes.
And why was there that change?
Jackson Foundation.
Go ahead.
Lauren has a lot of experience, and so he was brought in just as an additional coach, mentor, someone to work with Kenny and myself, and Bob, as well as the other team members.
How are you currently compensated by LuLaRoe?
Via direct deposit?
You receive a salary?
Yes.
And what is that salary?
I'm going to object, as it invades his right of privacy, is not reasonably calculatedly discovered admissible evidence. The right of privacy both under the California Constitution and federal. I'm going to instruct him not to answer.
I'm going to object to that. This is a deposition of a high-ranking employee witness. We are entitled to know the salary of that witness. It can be marked confidential, but I'm going to ask the witness to answer the question.
He's already been instructed.
Okay, well, we'll have to take it to the court.
We will. I'm happy to talk to you about it on a break.
Do you receive a bonus in addition to your salary ever from LuLaRoe?
It's a yes or a no. You can answer yes or no.
What was the question again?
Do you ever receive a bonus from LuLaRoe in
Do-
addition to a salary?
Do I ever?
Have you ever?
Yes.
Do you regularly receive bonuses from LuLaRoe?
No.
Do you receive an annual bonus?
No.
How many times have you received a bonus from LuLaRoe?
I don't recall. Let's see. It'd be a guess at the best.
Don't guess. If you have a reasonable estimate, she certainly has a right to that.
I would estimate 3.
Do you recall what years?
I'm estimating 2015, 16, 17.
Have you ever sold LuLaRoe clothing
Yes.
as a retailer?
Yes. Ish.
Why the ish?
I sold LuLaRoe clothing on the website LuLaRoe.com. I didn't hold parties as most retailers do. And that was for a short period of time.
Do you recall when that was?
I am thinking about that at the moment. I believe that started in 2013.
Hmm.
And it ended in, oh man. I don't recall if it ended in 2015, 16. I don't recall when that ended, to be honest.
Sounds like it. lasted for 2, maybe 3 years.
Yeah, it was a short period in the beginning.
And let me just clarify, when you say you sold clothing, were you facilitating the sale through the website, or were you personally selling as a retailer, as an independent fashion retailer?
I was facilitating it through a website, LuLaRoe.com.
So you have never been an independent fashion retailer or independent fashion consultant for LuLaRoe?
No.
Okay. You already told me you hadn't been deposed before. Have you ever testified in court before?
No.
I want to talk just a little bit generally about LuLaRoe's business for a few minutes. How would you describe LuLaRoe's business?
I would describe LuLaRoe's business as one that seeks to improve lives and strengthen families of independent fashion retailers who buy wholesale product from us and then resell it to customers.
And those products are clothing?
Yes.
Okay. And LuLaRoe makes the clothing? Is that
Objection, form.
Go ahead.
What do you mean by LuLaRoe makes the clothing?
Well, I guess it's LuLaRoe branded clothing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. LuLaRoe is responsible for the design of the clothing?
Yes. That's my understanding.
Okay. You mentioned sales on the website back in 2013 to sometime in 15 to 16. Since that ended, has LuLaRoe ever sold clothes to end consumers?
Objection, form.
Go ahead.
Not to my knowledge.
So LuLaRoe sells, as you said, to independent fashion retailers at wholesale price, who then turn around and sell those to someone who's going to be the end consumer use the product. Is that fair characterization?
More or less.
Anything I got wrong in that characterization?
Not principally, no.
Okay. And I think we both used the word retailer, independent fashion retailer. What's your understanding of that term?
My understanding of that term, independent fashion retailer, is that these are independent retailers that are not employees of LuLaRoe that buy product from us and decide when, how, and where to sell those clothing products.
And at some point in the past, those individuals were also referred to as consultants or independent fashion consultants. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page as to terminology as we go forward today. I've heard the term or the phrase build a team with respect to independent fashion retailers. What's your understanding of what that means?
My understanding of building a team is if you meet someone or know someone that's interested in being a retailer could then sponsor that individual, and in doing so, they would sponsor said individual to help them understand how to sell the product, how to be a good retailer, how to achieve their dreams and goals of being a retailer.
If someone wants to become an independent fashion retailer, do they need to have another IFR as a sponsor?
I don't know the full answer to that. I don't believe so, but I'm not certain. I don't know if you have to have a sponsor necessarily, or if one can be assigned to you. It's not the area of work that I do at LuLaRoe.
Yeah, fair enough. But in terms of sort of making sure we're on the same page as to these terms, a sponsor is someone who has invited or been assigned someone to be that sort of helping them understand how to sell the product sort of role. Is that fair?
Objection, foundation.
Could you restate the question?
So you said if a retailer meets someone who wants to become part of LuLaRoe, they will then sponsor that individual and help them understand how to sell the product?
It may be that retailer.
Okay.
A sponsor isn't always the one that introduced them to LuLaRoe.
So how would you define a sponsor?
The person that I would define a sponsor in LuLaRoe's terms as a new independent fashion retailer. It would be the existing retailer that they chose to have as their sponsor to work with as a LuLaRoe retailer.
In terms of LuLaRoe, what is a downline?
Downline.
Objection form.
Do you mean team?
Are you familiar with the term downline?
I'm familiar with the term, yes.
And what's your understanding of what that term means?
That would be the retailers that are on your team. That you were, yeah.
So that would include retailers that a certain RIFR has sponsored. Is that fair?
Could be ones that they sponsored or retailers that they sponsored.
Got it. And I understand there's various ranks of retailers depending on how many people they've sponsored. Is that fair?
There are different leadership roles in LuLaRoe, yes.
So, for example, mentor, coach, and trainer.
Yes.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the events team. Looking back at the declaration that you had signed that we looked at earlier, it looked like you were responsible for the events team at least through 2018. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then I think you stated as of today you're responsible for the look, vibe, and feel of the events, but not other aspects of the events. Is that right?
Objection, asked and answered.
Is that right?
What does that mean, asked and answered?
Well, you can go ahead and answer.
Oh.
Just so you've answered the question before.
Yes.
Please don't coach the witness. Yes? Okay. When you were let's focus just on the time that you were overseeing the team in its entirety. What did that events team do?
That team conceptualized, pre-produced, produced, post-produced, working very closely with Mark and Deanne and Kenny on the content of the event. But we would oversee contracting with venues. We would oversee the event design, the event production, the logistics, the flow, everything from the branding of it to advertising of it, to, by advertising meaning promotion to the retailers, to the experience of it. And that would begin prior to the event, obviously, with the pre-production elements, all the way up through the actual production day of the events, and then post-production wrapping up the events, working with subcontractors that would do work for us potentially on those events. And that would also depend on which event specifically you're speaking about. But there are many responsibilities and logistics that go into an event.
And we'll get to the specific events in a few minutes,
Yeah.
but talking about the team generally, let's go back to that 2018 period that we know you were overseeing that team. About how many people were on the team?
Let's see. In 2018, specifically?
Roughly, to the best of your recollection.
5 or 6. I don't remember exactly. I guess it would depend on. That's best guesstimate.
Are there people who have roles within multiple teams? For example, roles on the events team, also roles on the design team or the photography team? Or are they distinct teams?
In events, it was a distinct team
Yeah.
that was responsible for the production of the events. And they would work with the other team members to, like, they would work with the graphics team on the graphics needed for the event. They would work with the sales and leadership team on the content of what's being shared on stage or what's being presented in a booth or an experience, as we called them. They would work with the photo and video team to make sure they had the schedule and the logistics for the things they needed to capture and get as far as photos and videos went. But yeah, the events team specifically, they would produce events.
And that size, 5 or 6 people, has that been consistent over time or has it changed?
Oh, it's definitely changed. Yeah.
How so?
Well, when I first started, there wasn't an events team. Yeah, and then we brought in people to work specifically on events as the demand grew and was needed.
Has it ever been larger than 5 or 6 people?
I don't remember it being larger than 5 or 6. We would often use outside contractors because there wasn't a need for full-time team members to assist with events. So I don't remember there being more than 5 or 6.
What sort of roles did you use outside contractors for?
Sometimes for event design, potentially, for fabricating elements for the event, like scenic design.
Events that team was responsible for. Was that team responsible for the convention, the annual convention for LuLaRoe?
That team was responsible for the production of the convention.
Sure, all the aspects we've been talking about. I'm just trying to get a list
Yeah.
of the types of events we're talking
Mhm.
about. So the convention is one?
Yes.
Okay. Did the events team have any responsibilities with respect to the cruise?
Yes.
Similar types of responsibilities is what we've been talking about?
Yes.
What about LuLaRoe's in-person tours, where they travel from city to city? Did the events team handle any responsibilities for those events?
Objection. Form.
Go ahead.
What was the question?
My understanding is that LuLaRoe has engaged in various in-person tours that travel from city to city or go to various cities throughout the United States. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And did the events team have responsibilities as to those events?
Did they have responsibilities?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Did the events team have any responsibilities with respect to IFR retreats, such as a mentor's retreat or a coach's retreat?
Yes.
Any other types of events that the events team was involved in?
Any company events we would have been responsible for.
Such as what?
Like an employee appreciation event, or I'm trying to recall, your question was, were there other events? So I'm trying to make sure there's not others I'm not remembering.
When you say company events, are you referring to events sort of within company employees?
Yes.
So rather than IFRs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other IFR attended events that your team was responsible for?
IFR attended events. We mentioned convention, mentioned cruise, leadership events.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't recall.
So let's talk specifically about the annual conference. I believe that's sometimes also called Vision. Is that right?
Yes.
Has it always been called Vision?
No.
When was LuLaRoe's first conference?
I believe 2014?
And you were involved in the planning for that?
No, I was not involved with that one.
Why not?
I had a prior engagement, I believe, that kept me from being involved with that one. I don't recall what it was. I did not attend that event.
Have you been involved in all of the conventions since then?
Yes.
Just for the record, you're interchanging conference and convention, correct? As the same thing?
Yeah, well, I guess let me thank you for that clarification. Is conference and convention the same thing in your mind, or is there a distinction?
Convention is our annual big event.
Okay, so I'll try to stick with convention. Who attends the annual convention?
Any independent fashion retailer is able to attend.
What is the purpose of the convention?
Objection form.
Could you restate the question?
What is the purpose of the convention?
The purpose of the convention is to help the retailers.
Help in what way?
To help them understand how to sell better, to potentially understand more about our clothing products, potentially understand more about the brand and who we are, but most importantly to build community, to make friends and to be able to learn from each other.
Is the convention usually held in Southern California?
Yes, it has been thus far.
Are there any retailers who are required to attend?
Not to my knowledge.
You said that LuLaRoe sometimes engages a vendor to help with event registration.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sorry.
Does that include at convention?
Yes.
Okay. What vendors have you used to help with event registration for convention? Who sets the agenda for the convention?
That's a collaborative effort.
Who's involved?
That Man, that would be Kenny in the leadership and sales team, myself. Art McCracken could be involved. Mark and Deanne usually are very involved. We may involve leaders and retailers to ask them what they feel we could serve the retailers with as far as education and training goes. Last year, I believe Lauren was involved. Yeah.
And once Lauren came on and your role changed or shifted, have you still been involved in that collaborative effort?
Yes.
And you mentioned leaders. What do you mean by leaders?
You previously mentioned the leadership levels of LuLaRoe being mentor, coach, and trainer.
So when you say leaders, you mean a mentor, coach, or a trainer?
Yes.
How long does the convention usually last?
It usually lasts 3 days. Usually registration's on Thursday. And then the last thing is usually Saturday. But there's not always things all day long Thursday.
Okay, so registration,
Yeah.
possibly some events on Thursday, events on Friday,
Yes.
events on Saturday, and then the convention's over by the end of the day on Saturday.
Yes.
Okay. Do IFRs who want to come to convention need to pay when they register?
Could you please repeat the question?
Is there a fee for IFRs who want to attend convention?
Yes.
What is that fee typically?
I don't recall. I could give a guesstimate because we have different pricing based on when registration happens, or if there might be an early bird special, if you will, to register early. Usually around $200.
So what is the range based on when you register?
I believe the highest, I don't recall if the highest was $249 or $299. I believe the lowest might have been $100. So somewhere between that range, again, depending on.
And if a retailer decides to go to convention, pays the fee, whatever it is, depending on when they register, what are they? What's covered under that fee? The attendance of the convention, I assume, correct?
Yes.
And then anything else? Any food or parties or anything else?
That depends. Sometimes food is covered. Sometimes lunch is covered. It's varied from year to year depending on the location and the requirements with the venues. Usually they're given a swag bag of some sort that has a notebook and or pen, some sort of t-shirt or shirt commemorating the event, possibly a sticker. Sometimes they've been given a bag or backpack. Just some memorabilia for the event.
Anything else that convention fee covers?
What do you mean by the question?
Was there anything else that if someone registers, pays the fee, and they come, is covered by the company? You said sometimes food. They're given a swag bag. It obviously allows them to attend the convention. Anything
Right.
else?
I don't believe so.
Do IFRs come from outside of Southern California to convention?
Yes.
And they're expected to cover their own costs of travel? Is that correct?
They do cover their own cost of travel, yes.
Does LuLaRoe ever cover travel costs for any IFRs?
Could you restate the question?
Does LuLaRoe ever cover travel costs for any IFRs? Again, to attend convention, specifically.
I don't believe so. There may have been a couple instances, but that would have only been if someone was speaking or had a more prominent role in the event, but I don't recall even covering travel for them specifically.
What about hotel costs? IFRs generally are expected to make their own accommodation arrangements
Yes.
and pay for those accommodations.
Yes. Often they join together, share rooms, etc.
Does LuLaRoe ever reserve blocks of rooms for IFRs to do that, or is it sort of up to them to sort of coordinate and find a place to stay?
Yes, we usually reserve hotel blocks in regards to the events that are being held.
So you reserve, but then the IFRs make their own reservations and pay for them themselves. Is that
Yes.
fair? Okay. Does LuLaRoe ever pay for the hotels for any IFRs for convention?
I'm unsure.
Not that you're aware of.
We may have, but it would have likely been for someone speaking or that had a role in the event that we were. Yeah, that would have been the only time I.
So it's not the usual case?
No.
Okay. Does LuLaRoe keep records of who attends convention each year?
I believe so.
Who keeps those records?
The event registration company has them, and our events team would normally be shared with those documents and lists.
Generally, how many retailers attend convention?
It varies from year to year.
What's the largest number of retailers you've ever attended?
What is the largest number?
And rough, not looking
Yeah.
for a precise number.
16,000?
Do you recall what year that was?
2017.
Do you recall how many retailers attended last year's convention?
Approximately 6.
6,000.
Hmm? Sorry, I didn't say 1,000. Not 6 individuals.
I gather the logistics would be a little simpler for that.
Yes.
Let's see. I think let's take a break. We can go off the record.
All the records at 11:17 a.m.